Hello and welcome to Washington Exec's video series. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with Washington Exec, and with me today is Kathy Rondon. She's Chief Data Governance Strategist for Buchanan Edwards. Thanks so much for joining me today, Kathy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Kathy, you also lead the development on the company's public sector data governance training, which has received a lot of recognition recently. And you've also created an ongoing series of CDO roundtables to focus on the federal data strategy action plans. So, considering you've had a varied career in government and business and worn a lot of hats, you've chosen to focus on the advancement of data governance in the public sector. Can you explain why you feel this is such an important topic right now?
Sure, Amanda. My focus on public sector data governance started about a decade ago, before the discipline had really reached the tipping point that we see today. And through that decade, I've maintained a focus in public sector data governance. But over the past couple of years, I really think that we have reached a tipping point in the discipline. We're at a point where the way that government entities collect and share and use data is really at a point almost the way we were 200 years ago with the Industrial Revolution. I really think that that's where we are with data right now. But we are in a place where we are about to see some really strong cultural and societal and behavioral norms associated with how the government participates in the data collection and the data governance and the data use arena. And so because of that, I've really started to focus in on what that means for government entities. And I think that it would probably be a good idea for me to focus right now on how the Buchanan and Edwards data governance practice, what our approach is. We don't come at data governance from an IT governance or an IT disciplinary standpoint. We really kind of focus on the policy and the behavioral norms and the procedures, and this is kind of our approach to data governance. And I really think that this is the time to be having this conversation. And you can see it in the news, you can see it in government contracting, that I'm really very excited to be working in data governance in the public sector at this particular point in time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is very visible right now. What are some of the projects that you've undertaken in the public sector data governance arena?
Well, you mentioned our public sector data governance training class. This really is sort of our flagship offering in our data governance practice right now. And it's something that I'm really very proud of, because it is a data governance program that focuses specifically on the idiosyncrasies that the federal, state, and local governments face when they are collecting and sharing and using data, which is quite a bit different than how data is governed in the commercial world. The legal and regulatory idiosyncrasies are really far-reaching when it comes to how you deal with data in the public sector. And so this training and certification course that we undertook in partnership with the Institute for the Certification of Computing Professionals, which is a third-party certifying organization with 45 years of experience, and they back the public sector data governance certification. And we have a class that goes with it. It really is a very exciting project, and one that has, as you mentioned, has gotten some recognition recently. We've had people from a variety of different government agencies take our training class, from FDA and DHS and Army and Navy and Coast Guard. We've done a lot of training for the U.S. Air Force, which we're very pleased with. We've had people from the Peace Corps take our training class. And then we've also done, and the classes during the pandemic, we transferred it to a virtual instructor-led class, which actually has gone over very well. But we've also done tailored web-based training courses at the state level for the states of Virginia and Texas. And those are tailored specifically for their state level audiences. So we've done an awful lot of work with the public sector data governance class, and we're really very pleased with the results and the feedback that we've gotten. We've also recently mapped it to the federal data strategies data skills catalog. So a lot of the learning objectives we have in that public sector data governance class, they do map to the federal data skills catalog, specifically in the areas of leadership and domain expert and collection. Those are some of the learning objectives that our class actually hits, and so we're very pleased to continue that project. You also mentioned the CDO roundtables that we've done, and when we've done those CDO roundtables, we did our first one in person pre-pandemic, and then very quickly moved to the webinar phase, the way pretty much everybody did. We're hoping to be able to do some of those in person again soon. We tied them to the year one action plan. We did our first one on data literacy. We did one on data management maturity. We did one on data governance deliverables. And so we are planning our next one, hopefully in sort of the September timeframe. And I'm not exactly, we're still kind of nailing down the speakers and agenda for that. But stay tuned. It'll be on our Buchanan and Edwards website and on LinkedIn and all of that. So we're really pleased with that as well.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So what comes next? Do you have any thoughts on future initiatives to advance data governance in public sector?
Well, we would like to expand the CDO seminar series, which we'll be doing. I'd also like to do more training. Our public sector data governance training is really it's sort of a foundational base level class. And what I would really like to do is some follow-on classes for more advanced topics. Personally, I'm really jazzed about the disciplines of data curation, which I think is a really important discipline and gets short shrift in a lot of areas. Data curation is usually tackled as another duty as assigned for data stewards, and it's something that I would really like to do some additional advanced training on the curation of data assets. Data ethics, also huge topic. We really are, as I mentioned in sort of the intro of our interview, we're at the precipice, we're at the edge of some serious societal and cultural norms associated with how data is collected and used and shared, and the way that the government specifically uses and shares and collects data, and what our ethical considerations should be is also a really big issue. So I'd like to do some additional training on data ethics. And more recently, in addition to sort of our thought leadership, we've as a company, we've started doing on-site consulting with some government agencies in sort of the CDO areas of government programs to help support their standing up of CDO shops under the Foundations for Evidence-Based Policymaking Act, and we would like to do more of that. We are looking to actually grow our data governance practice by putting data governance and data management experts on-site in government agencies to sort of consult and help government agencies as they stand up their data governance practices. So we would like to do some more of that as well. And then finally, we would really like to also expand our thought leadership. We are expanding our data governance program. This is an area where I really think that it's poised for a lot of growth. People have a lot of questions, and we're really at a point now where we're starting to ask the right questions. We're not to the answers yet. We still have to get to the answers, but I'm encouraged that people are starting to ask the right questions, which can be challenging sometimes. Because a lot of times, and I know I'm digressing a little bit, the data governance program in government agencies and in the commercial sector as well, they tend to grow out of and be subordinate to the IT part of the organization. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but it is different. It is not an IT discipline. Data is different and should typically report through the mission side of the organization. So as that becomes apparent to people, then different questions are asked. We start getting into not can we do something with our data, but in addition to can we do something with our data, should we do something with our data? What should we be doing with our data, and what are the sort of the resulting impacts of that use of data? And so, the technological question is the easy one. Technology is easy. As complicated as AI and machine learning can be, that actually is the easy part. It's the data part that feeds it that is the hard part. And people are actually starting to ask questions about the data now. Things like, is there inherent bias in our data collection, and what does that mean for our the AI algorithms that we develop? Those are things that were not being asked originally. They're being asked now, and I think that's really a really sort of an important point to make when you're talking about where the discipline is going, and what's to come in the next few years.
Yeah, it shows that we're making strides in the right direction when the right questions are being asked.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this. This is a very important and timely topic, and we look forward to following Buchanan and Edwards initiatives in the future with data governance. So thank you for being here, Kathy.